Yes, good evening, USA, and everybody from Canada, International, Long Island, aka Strong Island, plus the five spots of Brooklyn, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and Queens. This is your man, G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, host with the most, creator, misunderstood lonely nomad, unstoppable independent podcaster, and of course, rookie podcaster of Queens, New York. And you're rocking and hanging out with me on the 97th episode of Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast Review Show. Excuse me. Yes, yes, Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast Review Show. And happy Veterans Day to everybody from all over the world. And I am going to talk about something that's also happening today in a couple of minutes in terms of not only Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, but also there's Nas's album that came out today, and it's also the 2 year anniversary of my number one show, Off the Meat Rat Chains New York podcast, that's out right now, and I'll even get to all that at the end of the show. All right, so without further ado, if you if you missed any previous episodes, new and the latest, oldest episodes, don't worry. I got you back on everything. Plus, if you like to make a charitable donation to my Cash App, go ahead and show some love by making a charitable donation to my Cash App, which is $ G Money Stacks 555. That's capital G, lowercase MONEY, capital S, lowercase TACKZ, 555. It's not about having a lot of money from a rich family. Um, it's all about doing the best you can as a human being. Um, will be appreciated. Whatever amount of money you decide to donate will be appreciated. And speaking of which, go grab that subscribe button for me on the Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast YouTube channel page, where you see all the episodes already posted automatically. And also be sure to tap that noni bell so you can be reminded of when the show goes in the air via live stream, alongside the with the topics, the time that it's going to be recording, and of course, be sure to leave a like and a comment along with the episodes, along with the topics of 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 the review, and of course, be sure to catch up on the episodes. Be sure to share share the episodes, and of course, be sure to tell a friend to another friend, and I'll handle the rest at the end of the show. Before I get started, I want to give a shout out to a cousin of mine who used to be in the army from New Jersey. Shouts to my cousin, Juvence. Happy Veterans Day to you and all your friends out there who were in the military. So we appreciate your service and what you did for this country. So so that's something to congratulate about right here. Okay, today's episode is about Chippendale Rescue Rangers, the cartoon and the recent movie that came out recently. Yeah, so we're going to be reviewing the cartoon and the movie, and of course, we got a little bit of hip hop history in the music Kool Aid segment, and of course, some video games to actually let you know which one's coming out, and a little bit of the review of the gameplay and all the other great stuff right there. Now, first and foremost, let's get into this music Kool Aid first, right here, man. Before I even get to the uh, the other stuff, so let's get into music Kool Aid first. All right. So we can't talk about Hip Hop History Month without talking about the graffiti and the evolution of hip hop into art. And yes, so this is according to the beat dfw.com. Let's get into it. Let's get into this right now. Okay, so art is scope. Hold on a second. Art is subjective, and how we express our individual vision for its varies, and for its varies. One thing remains a constant, though graffiti has been one of its core mediums, offering a vessel that will forever breathe new life into the streets of many cities and towns by turning blank canvases into communities of visual creativity. Um, so this creative expression, wait a second, little known Black history fact, Jean Michael Basquiat. Sorry about that. This creative expression is made up of written words used to spread a specific message, whether it be social, political, or something a bit more personal from inner elements of an aerosol spray can. Hip hop's connection to graffiti dates back to the late 1960s, originating in the predominantly black and Latino neighborhoods of New York City, where hip hop music and street subcultures formulated. In honor of Hip Hop History Month, we will explore individuals who played an integral role in the creation of hip hop graffiti, the origins of it, and how it's become a key element of hip hop as we know it today. Hold on a sec. Um, okay. Much like we use Instagram or Twitter usernames to distinguish us as individuals, artists alike pride themselves by using tags. Early graffiti artists were referred to as writers or taggers, defined as individuals who write simple tags or stylized um, signatures with the goal of tagging as many locations as possible with letters, numbers, or even symbols. One of the first locations of tagging was said to be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where while others identified the Washington Heights area of New York City, which is in Manhattan, for those of you who may not know, as the proper birthplace. Two artists credited with the first acts of graffiti in Philadelphia were Cornbread, Cornbread and Cool Earl. Both, oh shit, both wrote their names all over the city, garnering attention from the community and local press. And of course, fun fact: Cornbread, also referred to as the Godfather of graffiti, once tagged the side of an elephant at the Philly Zoo, and also the Jackson Five's plane at the airport. Oh man, one of the one first of one first on hip hop graffiti on the hip hop graffiti writers list was said to be from New York. A Grecian named Demetrius, also known as Taki 183, is single handedly one of the most influential graffiti writers in its history. His tag was short for Dimitraki, a Greek alternative for his birth name, Demetrios. The number 183 also came from his address on 183rd Street in Washington Heights, New York. When he was a teenager, he built a reputation as a folk hero by writing his name and number anywhere he wished. His graffiti is still regarded as one of the best in the world. Julio 204 is another funding father of graffiti writers in NYC. He started writing his nickname all over his neighborhood as early as 1968. Julio was a was a Puerto Rican who lived on 204th Street in the Inwood neighborhood of Manhattan and was a member of the Savage Skulls gang. Jeez, hold on, Savage Skull gang. Wow. Okay, Savage Skull gang. Okay. Savage Skull gang. Okay, so unlike street artists who need stencils and other tools to create a mural, graffiti artists choose to use spray cans when hitting up blank walls, railways, and alleyways to create. The fundamental underlying principle of graffiti practice was the intention to get up, or in other words, to have one's work seen by as many people as possible in as many places as possible. There also was a single event that changed the game of linking graffiti and hip hop, known as the New York City Rap Tour of 1982, also known as the Roxy Tour. This event brought some of the most prominent rap musicians, breakers, and graffiti writers together. Shows throughout Paris, Lyon, Belford, Mulhouse, Strasbourg, London, and Los Angeles, California. This was the first time Europeans had witnessed the culture as we know it today. It had become major on a global level now, and all the elements were present at excuse me present all at once for an unforgettable experience. We cannot fail to mention Fab Five Freddy's role in all of this either, who was responsible for combining the elements of hip hop. Raised in Brooklyn by culturally aware black parents, Freddie was both a participant in the subcultures and fluent in the codes and context of the dominant culture. This allowed him to act as a bridge between the ghetto and the media that was creating the link. Fat Five Freddy refers to that notion of bringing together different cultures into the single concept of hip hop as more of a personal vision. Um, and he said, in quote, I developed these theories that all these elements of our urban culture were beginning to seem like one big thing. This was in 1978. Additionally, many of the rap music videos of that time included scenes of graffiti. The most significant of these was Buffalo Gals by Malcolm McLaren in 1983, which gave the world the chance to see for the first time the live creation of a graffiti piece by legendary writer Dondi. In the late 80s, many artists were after fame and recognition and led to huge tags referred to as bombings, getting to getting thrown up overnight. Whoa. A less complex way of tagging, you'll see more characters with solid color filled and less contrasting outlines when it comes to these murals. Today, graffiti can be seen across the world, adding textures and personality to cities through powerful messages that can be conveyed so simply. Okay, so let's hold on a sec. All right, so sorry about that, folks. Wild Plains. All right, so we're loving it. How Graffiti Group 5 Points teamed up with the Future Project to transform a school. Of course, this is interesting right here. Yes. So that's your hip hop history. Hold on a second. There's more. There's more actually. Another story in hip hop history month is, well, there's basically a group of individuals in the early 2000s that we got to get to. Okay, so this is interesting right here. All right, so let's get into it according to the BET website. All right. All right, so this was posted November 9th. A lot can be said about the bling era of hip hop in the early 2000s. The genre has commercialized, and rappers from across the nation were popping up with something to prove, including The Game, T.I., 50 Cent, Remy Ma, Jadakiss, Trina, Rick Ross, Common, Lupe Fiasco, Kanye West, piece of shit, Nelly, Freeway, Beanie Siegel, and plenty more. Rappers had to put their skills on full display. Artists like 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, and Fabulous, and more would pull up to the basement on Rap City with Big Tigger and lay down a freestyle over an iconic rap beat. It also saw a rise in regional styles. The South, who had almost been left out of the conversation entirely, showed up with a new sound that still has substantial playback value during a DJ set at a rooftop day party. It's also its first of a kind dance craze with artists like Soldier Boy, who released Crank That Soldier Boy in 2007, one of the earlier recorded cases a of a rapper gaining fame with the use of social media. Hold on. Okay. All right, so Kanye popularized the chipmunk soul sound, famously heard on the Chicago Natives' debut single "Through the Wire," which featured a sped up sample of Shaka Khan's "Through the Fire." Though the 10-time Grammy Award winner gave the MC the approval, she often vocalized regret in the decision. By the end of the first decade into the new millennium, a narrative that hip hop soon rose, which was in response to the art form being oversaturated with crunk music and snap rap. Nas was so pressed about it that he dedicated his eighth studio album to his frustrations in 2006 and titled it "Hip Hop Is Dead." His efforts won. His efforts earned him a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Album, but he lost to Kanye West's graduation at the 50th annual ceremony. In honor of Hip Hop History Month, we're revisiting some of the genre's most influential acts of each decade. While there are many, and we mean many, to choose from, here are just a few that quickly came to mind. Check them out below. Okay, so we got Ti. Hold on a second. All right, Atlanta native Ti is best known as one of the pioneers of hip hop subgenre trap music, along with fellow Atlanta-based rapper Jeezy and Gucci Mane. Throughout his illustrious career, putting himself in and both his city on the rap map. He released 11 studio albums, 7 of which reached the top 5 of the U.S. Billboard 200 chart. He ventured into other lanes hip hop created for itself at the time, including including fashion, business, and then there's television. Ti was not only one of the top artists of the decade, but highly respected as an overall hip hop figure, often publicly speaking out on issues affecting the black community in the same ways music has done. Okay, 50 Cent. In 2003, 50 Cent created G Unit Record and brought on several notable acts, including rappers Lloyd, The Game, Mobb Deep, Young Buck, and singer Olivia. Um, he would later take over television shows like his Power Universe and other feature length films. Um, Fifth was mentored by the late Jam Master Jay of Run DMC, but his journey to becoming a successful MC almost ended after he was shot 9 times. But through strength, he released a track titled "In the Club" that made his second chance in life more meaningful. Yes. So he did have a movie with the same name as his first album, Get Rich or Die Trying, which I saw already. Which is pretty interesting actually. And speaking of interesting, Eminem forged his own, though at first controversial, path in an already gritty industry to becoming one of the greatest rappers of all time. Some may say it's debatable considering the Beastie Boys. However, M's international success pushed the door open for white rappers to be accepted in the art form. Oh boy, give me a minute. Give me 1 second. Okay, here it is. All right. Okay. Like Missy Elliott, M made noise in the late '90s with his debut album Infinite and his EP Slim Shady in 1997. After singing, after singing, no, it's supposed to be signing. After signing with Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment label imprint, the rest was history. In 2002, M's second album, The Eminem Show, became the year's best-selling album worldwide. In 2002, he snatched an Academy Award for Best Original Song for Lose Yourself, from his musical drama film 8 Mile, marking the first hip hop artist ever to win the award. Um, in the following um, in following years, he released several number one albums, including Marshall Mathers LP2, Revival, Kamikaze, and Music to Be Murdered By in 2020. Um, Despite his recent spiral, Kanye West remains one of hip hop's greatest architects. The Chicago native redefined how the genre could be presented and ultimately alongside acts like Diddy, 50 Cent, and others. Ye proved hip hop could take someone from the hood to be a billionaire status. Well, he's no longer a billionaire anymore. I already talked about it on my other platform, my New York podcast platform already, twice already. Oh man. If you haven't gotten a chance to check out episode 200 and 202, I actually talked about this guy twice. I'm not doing any more Kanye West stories anymore because this guy's this guy's ignorant, man, and I'm not gonna fucking get into it. So, let me just keep going with this shit, though. Anyway, regardless of your opinions of as of 2022, there's no debate that hip hop would look much different without projects like College Dropout, Late Registration, 808s, and Heartbreaks, and plenty more. Meh. All right, Missy Elliott, multi-talented MC, singer, and songwriter Missy Elliott could have easily been listed on our previous list of top '90s acts after getting her start as part of the R&B group Sister in the early mid 1990s, and later as a solo artist in 1997 with the release of her debut studio album Super Duper Fly, with spawned classic joints like Sock It to Me and The Rain, while working with groups like Total and SWV. However, by the 2000s, And after two projects, Missy would gain global success with the release of several albums, including with the release of Missy E, So Addictive in 2001, Under Construction, and This Is Not a Test, which were released 1 year apart and feature singles such as Get Your Freak On, 1 Minute Man, For My People, Gossip Folks, and Work It. The latter won her a Grammy Award for Best Female Rap Solo Performance. Misty still creates to this day, and her influence can be seen in acts today like Tierra Whack, um, Dolce, and many more. Okay, all right. Now we're gonna go to we're gonna get into the we're gonna get into the film. So so we're gonna get into reviewing the movie based on the cartoon, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. All right, so let's get into it right about now. All right, so Chippendale Rescue Rangers is a 2022 American live action computer animated action adventure comedy film based on the characters Chippendale and the continuation of the animated TV series of the same name, directed by Akiva Schaffer and written by Dan Gregor and Doug Mann. The film stars John Mulaney, and Andy Samberg as the voices of the titular pair, respectively, with Kiki Lane, Will Arnett, Eric Bana, uh, Flula Borg, Hayes, Dennis Haysbert, Keegan Michael Key, Tress McNeil, Tim Robinson, Seth Rogen, and J.K. Simmons. It is a it is a co-production between Walt Disney Pictures, producers David Hoberman and Todd Lieberman's Mandeville Films, and Lonely Island. The film takes place in a world where fictional characters in cartoons, movies, and other media live alongside humans and centers on Chip and Dale, 30 years since the cancellation of their show due to a falling out, coming back to reconcile their differences while they investigate the kidnapping of their friend and co-star Mon- Monterey Jack. Okay. So the budget. So the budget was what was it, $70 million. Wow. Chippendale Rescue Rangers premiered in Hollywood on May 16, 2022, and was released in the United States on May 20th, streaming on Disney Plus as an original film. It received generally positive reviews from critics for its humor, voice acting, and meta commentary. At the 74th Primetime Emmy Awards, the film won for Outstanding Television Movie. Um, um, all right, so let's get into the reception. All right, so we got audience review shit. According to Wit Media, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers was the most watched movie across all platforms in the United States during the week of May 20th, 2022, and the most watched movie across all platforms in the United States during the week of May 27th, 2022, according to Nielsen Holdings. Chippendale Rescue Rangers was the fifth most watched program and the second most watched movie across all platforms during the week of May 16th, 2022 to May 22nd, 2022. According to Real Good, Chippendale Rescue Rangers was the 10th most watched program across all platforms during the week of May 26th, 2022 to June 1st, 2022. Critical reception. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 80% of 135 critics' reviews are positive with an average rating of 6.9 out of 10. The website's consensus reads sometimes some reboots fall through the cracks, but Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers picks up the slack with a fast, funny film that almost never fails. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 66 out of 100 based on 25 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Frank Sheck of The Hollywood Reporter gave it a positive review, saying it succeeded where Space Jam: A New Legacy failed, and called it the funniest movie of the year so far, either animated or live action, or in this case, both, since it's ingeniously melds the two forms in the cleverest manner since Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Amy Nicholson of Variety wrote, in quote, this frenetic and funny crossbreeding of live action and cartoon is both a reboot and an anti-reboot, a corporate funded raspberry at corporate IP, and a giddily dumb smart Alec committed to mocking its joke and making it too. David Sims of The Atlantic reviewed the movie positively, describing it as a contemporary version of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and wrote, the movie works because the movie works mostly because through its weird tricks of animation and self-referential, hold on a second, self-referentiality, it somehow finds a fresh satirical angle. Other films have skewered an industry that's intent on blue blood bludgeoning, but bludgeoning audiences with their own fading memories. But only Chip and Dale actually give those memories a new life. Cullen Marsh of the New York Times reviewed the film positively, drawing some comparisons to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I kind of understand why they compared it to that movie. But let's writing a wry take on the material that combines animation and live action comedy. The movie has some of the hip flair and and arcade and arc and archaic, excuse me, and archaic meta humor of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, as well as an irrelevant self-referential attitude that's rather appealing. Nick Allen of the RogerEbert.com website rated the film 2.5 out of 4 stars, praised the different styles of animation, complimented the, the performances of the voice actors, and stated that the film manages to provide comical moments, but criticized the plot, writing. At least the premise is funny, but it's still stuck in that usual animated movie spot of trying to make something for kids with some irre- irreverent references um, and deep cuts for the adults. Take away the cameos in the recording booth and animate it on screen, and you get something that's a little too close to the same old junk. Matt Fowler of IGN gave the movie a 7 out of 10 grade, praised the humor of the film across its gags, found the movie sharp through its handle of pop culture references, and called Andy Samberg and John Mulaney's performances vibrant and silly, saying they managed to be the right voice duo to bring these chipmunks back to life. Benjamin Lee of The Guardian rated the film 3 out of 5 stars, stating the script feels a few punch ups away from being quite as funny as it could have been. But what Gregor and Mandu manage is a neat balance of tone. The knowing satire never falling into self-referential smugness, thanks to a healthy dose of hold on, both of earnestness. Yes, earnestness and a genuine affection for the source material. Jennifer Green of Common Sense Media rated the movie 3 out of 5 stars, praised the depiction of positive messages, citing friendship and forgiveness, found agreeable and presence of role models across the different characters who fight for justice while complementing the diversity of the cast. Tad Stone, the co-creator of Rescue Rangers, has expressed his approval of the film, calling it fantastic. And of course, um, we go to the Gold Derby Awards. So Chippendales Rescue Rangers got a nomination for Best TV Movie. And and of course we go to the Hollywood Critics Association TV Awards. Chippendales Rescue Rangers won for Best Streaming Movie. And of course, Primetime Creative Arts Awards. Alexander Young, Tom Heitzman, Todd Lieberman, and David Hoberman won for Outstanding Television Movie. And now for the future, um, after the film's release, writers Dan Gregor and Doug Mann said they were interested in writing the script for a sequel, but it would depend on the popularity of the first film. Well, Schaefer said our budget was around the same as Roger Rabbit and called that the most expensive film of all time at the time of its release, meaning he had to have been citing the reported $70 million figure, not the later revealed $50.6 million number. Wow. It really did good. It really did good in the box office, man. So, so we'll see what happens with the sequel. Remains to be seen. Don't know when. Don't know when that's gonna really happen. And speaking of making it happen, let's get into let's get into um hold on. Let's get into another segment right here. One second. Another segment right here that I like to call. One second. Where is that segment? Yes, TV show checkouts. All right, here it is. Here it is right here. All right, so yes, so there's Chippendale Rescue Rangers, the cartoon. I remember this cartoon actually when I was little. This was like around the time when DuckTales and of course Goof Troop and all these other cartoons came around. Um, but I might try to review those in a future episode. Who knows, man? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Chippendale Rescue Rangers is an American animated adventure comedy television series produced by Walt Disney Television Animation, created by Tad Stones and Alan Zaslov. It featured established Disney characters Chip and Dale in a new setting. The series premiered on the Disney Channel on March 4th, 1989, after the episode Catteries Not Included. That's probably a reference to batteries not included. Wow. Aired on August 27th, 1988, as a preview. The series continued in September with a 2 hour special, Rescue Rangers to the Rescue, later divided into 5 parts to air as part of the weekday run. The final episode aired on November 19th, 1990. Oh boy. So the voice actors. The voice actors includes Corey Burton, Tress McNeil, Jim Cummings, Peter Cullen, Robert Paulson, um, Alan Oppenheimer, Noel North, and Deborah Wally. And it did 3 seasons and 65 episodes, which is all right. But all right. So let's see. On September 18th, 1989, the series entered national syndication. It it aired afternoons along with the following DuckTales on a network that would become Fox before transferring to a new channel. Tailspin, a series based on characters from the Jungle Book, was added to the lineup just before the Disney Afternoon aired on the new channel. Following Rescue Rangers, from 1990 to 1993, reruns were aired as a part of the Disney Afternoon. It was syndicated to Toon Disney upon launch in 1998, but were removed a decade later. The entire run became available as one season as part of Disney Plus as of its launch on November 12th, 2019. Fully remastered in high definition, the series was initially released on Blu ray on January 25th, 2022 via Disney Movie Club, then everywhere else on February 15th, 2022. Live action animated metafictional sequel film with the same name was released on Disney Plus on May 20th, 2022. From May 19th to the 20th, 2022, Disney XD reran the show to promote the film, which I just reviewed just now. Let's see. All right, all right. Critical reception. Hal Erickson, author of television cartoon shows, an illustrated encyclopedia, compared the show to DuckTales, stating that it was consumerly produced and written, and its animation succeeded in putting most other overseas output to shame. Emily Ashby of Common Sense Media rated the series 4 out of 5 stars, complimented the depiction of positive messages, citing teamwork and saying the series succeeds to depict a female character as a role model while finding the show family friendly and entertaining. In January 2009, IGN named Chippendale Rescue Rangers as the 60th best in the top 100 animated TV shows. Jeremy Hayes of BuzzFeed ranked Chippendale Rescue Rangers fourth in their best cartoons from the 80s list. The show was nominated at the 17th Daytime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Animated Program. Well, that's interesting. um. Oh wow. Wow. Okay. So there's a few cartoons, but I'm not gonna get to all of them today. So let's get into. I'm not gonna get into it today though, man. All right. All right. Let's get into. All right. We got some video game stuff to go around. So we're gonna get into that right about now. Let me find this thing real quick. Let me find this thing. Um, sorry about that. All right, here it is. Here it is. All right, now we can go to the video game chamber real quick. Actually, so let's get into it right about now. Um, it's about the new games that's coming up, and alongside with the gameplay, the graphics and stuff. That's what the video game chamber is for. This is for all for the gamers out there. You know what I mean? So let's get into it right about now. Okay. We got some games to go over that's coming up right here. So let's get into Resident Evil 2. And of course, I said I was going to review the Ninja Turtles and alongside with the other one. Wait, hold on. I did do that one. I did do that one actually. No, hold on. I didn't do that one actually. Anyway, there's a couple stuff that I want to get to. Let's get into first. Let's get into Resident Evil that's out today. Actually, all right. So for more than a decade, Resident Evil has felt like a franchise struggling to find its identity. The seminal Resident Evil 4 puts a greater focus on action, but subsequent entries lost their luster. Resident Evil 7 was a major course correction, but still felt like a radical reinvention that was finding its footing. Fortunately, Capcom might have finally found the magic once again. This brilliant homage to Resident Evil 2 not only revitalizes many of the survival horror events, no, excuse me, elements that put Resident Evil on the map, it paves a brilliant path for the future of the franchise. In its era, Resident Evil was the pinnacle of survival horror. While the original Resident Evil established a formula, its sequel raised the stakes in nearly every way with tense exploration and nail biting action. In 1988, Resident Evil 2's action was as intense as its atmosphere was horrifying, so it became a benchmark for PS1 horror. Unfortunately, Capcom's classic has aged about as poorly as a zombie eaten corpse. Whoa. Capcom's remake gives Raccoon City a much needed facelift, but a new third person perspective does even more to update Resident Evil's action. This remake returns to the series' slower paced roots. Thankfully, slowing down the shootouts doesn't diminish Resident Evil's intensity. On the contrary, Resident Evil's action feels better than it has in years, and it's smoother. And the shooter controls are incredibly intuitive. Zombies shamble forward like herky jerky wind up toys. These animations are unnerving, but they also create an exciting metagame in which you must time your shots perfectly to hit these brain eaters in the brain pan. If you miss your shot, they keep stumbling forward, meaning that even two flanking zombies can pose a challenge if you are off your A game. Resident Evil 2's new visuals also create a darker, more haunting vibe. For those who think Resident Evil has lost its teeth, Resident Evil 2 might be the most intense game in the series. The original Resident Evil 2's bold colors look cartoonish today, but um, the remake's atmosphere is foreboding. Zombie has pop in a sickening shower of brain bits. Whoa. Grotesque body horrors skitter across the walls and ceilings. The station's halls echoes with steady footfalls. I normally have an incredibly steady hand, but Resident Evil had me jumping at shadows, and I couldn't escape the feeling of being stalked. Resident Evil 2 is also more than a remake. In a lot of important ways, this feels like a brand new experience. Fans will recognize locations within Raccoon City Police Department, excuse me, and its sprawling sewer system. But Capcom cleverly reworked the entire layout so they feel fresh. Many of the environmental puzzles are more realistic in moments like rewiring an electrical grid or looking for environmental clues to a combination lock offer a refreshing break from the action. Another big change from the original game is the removal of the zapping system. In the PlayStation original, players' actions with one character could affect events in the second playthrough with the other character. While the zapping system is gone, this modern update has a mode called Second Run, which allows you to play through the campaign a second time with the other character. These two campaigns don't talk to each other as in the PlayStation game, but the second round challenges you to take a different path through the station and gives you a few new tools to use in the process, such as a rapid fire revolver that burns through high grade ammo. Leon and Claire's stories are also very different. So this feature adds extra incentive to play through the game a second time. Fortunately, both playthroughs felt significantly, different, and I was excited to see what happened to both protagonists. Over the years, Capcom has experimented with several different approaches to Resident Evil, but this is one approach I hope gets revisited. Resident Evil 2 not only looks great, it plays well and it forces you into a series of dark encounters that are a total rush. Resident Evil is finally running on all cylinders. So concept. Revive Capcom's classic survival horror game with more than a visual overhaul. This feels like a new game that plays homage to the original, not a classic with a new coat of paint. Graphics, its new third person perspective, and detailed 3D environments bring Raccoon City's police department to life like never before. The sound the soundtrack is subtle but effective. However, creaking floorboards and other ambient effects do an even better job creating an uncomfortable atmosphere. Playability RE2, RE2's, which is Resident Evil 2's action is slow paced but intense. The environmental puzzles are clever and never grow frustrating. Entertainment. For Resident Evil fans, this is a must play. But even those without nostalgia for Resident Evil 2 will have a good time. And the replay is high. All right, so okay, up next, like I said, I already talked about Valkyrie also coming out on the 11th, which is today, which is Valkyrie Elysium PC, Floodland PC, Pediment Xbox Series, Xbox One PC, November 15th. Smurfs Kart, Nintendo Switch, Somerville, Xbox Series, Xbox One, PC, November 15th. And also coming out on the 15th is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. All right, so let's get into the Ninja Turtles review. Okay, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles carved its perfect niche in video games by way of the cooperative beat 'em up. Titles like the 1989 arcade game and Turtles in Time let fans fulfill the fantasy of kicking shell alongside their friends. But it's been a long time since our green heroes were the stars of a great video game. Shredder's Revenge ends that drought, serving as a lovingly crafted homage to TMNT's glory days that gives fans what they remember while sanding down most of the rough edges. Shredder and his Foot Clan have run amok in New York City and beyond. And it's up to the Turtles alongside Master Splinter, April O'Neil, and an unlockable Casey Jones to stop them. Up to six players team up to brawl their way through over a dozen colorful detailed stages in an adventure inspired by the classic 1987 cartoon. Although Shredder's Revenge can appeal to any generation of TMNT fans, those who grew up in the 80s and early 90s will best appreciate how tribute games reverence for that series oozes from every pixelated brick. I'm among the fans who discovered TMNT during this golden era, so I couldn't stop smiling as I recognized Easter eggs and encountered a fearsome foe or friendly face I'd long forgotten about. The cuts run deep in Shredder's Revenge. One villain only appeared once in the cartoon, giving diehard players plenty of well executed fan service. Um, Hearing the original voice cast being bring the turtles to life adds a nostalgic cherry atop the package, and a wonderful retro inspired soundtrack ranks among my favorites of the year. Shredder's Revenge doesn't try to reinvent the beat 'em up. Rather, tribute games refine the old school template. You still largely mash the same attack button to execute simple combos, but chaining together aerial, running, and various special attacks provides enough depth to keep it from feeling completely one note. Okay, I especially love using the dodge recovery button to sidestep attacks, bypass the defenses, or instantly get back in the fray when knocked down, sending foes careening into the screen border, air juggling them long after they are defeated, and tossing them at the screen adds more layers of goofy fun. Um, However, battling flying enemies is less enjoyable because it's tougher to discern which plane they occupy. Missing multiple jump kicks only to get blasted in response irk me like no tomorrow. Even with a full squad of six players and miles of enemies on screen, Shredder's Revenge runs like a dream. Any semblance of strategy goes out the window with a half dozen friends swinging ninja weapons at once. But that provides its own chaotic brand of entertainment. Sure, losing track of yourself in the sea of digital humanity happens often and can be mildly frustrating, but the joy of laughing and cheering alongside so many buddies dulls that irritation. Um, each character sports individual traits such as reach, attack, and speed that differentiate them enough without making one feel better than the other. One example, Leonardo is the all rounder, Donatello has the longest reach, Raphael and Splinter hit the hardest, while Michelangelo and Abram move fastest, with variations between. You can't go wrong even if someone claims your favorite. Though I'll always rep Donatello, I had a great time using everyone. Um, in addition to a standard arcade mode, a story mode offers an objective based variant. Instead of tackling stages one after another, players travel between them on a world map, meaning you can replay them. That's because the levels have simple objectives such as avoiding damage throughout the mission or executing a type of attack a number of times. Completing quests rewards points that level up characters, unlocking new abilities, um, which are available by default in arcade, or adding more health points and other stat buffs. I appreciate how story mode's objectives incentivize me to observe stages for collectibles, hidden characters, and traps to use against enemies. I wish side missions had more variety than bring an alley this batch of collectibles, though. Story mode may not be a colossal shakeup, but it's a neat twist worth playing if you already conquered arcade. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge gives me what I wanted. A polished, recklessly fun throwback that plays better than how I remember the original games. Turtles fans, new and old, will find plenty to love, but those possessing a nostalgia for this era of the franchise are in for the biggest treat. Invite some friends, order a pizza, and prepare to relive your childhood in the best possible way. Okay. All right. So we have another game. Wise. Seven. I already think I talked about this one already. I think I reviewed that one already. Wise. What is this? What is this? What is it? Seven. Eight. Wise eight. Lacrimosa of Dana. PlayStation 5, November 15th. That's when it comes out. Call of Duty Warzone 2.0, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, November 16th. Goat Simulator, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC, November 17th. Marvel Spider Man Miles Morales, November 18th. I did that one already. And then we got PID for Nintendo Switch. Okay, let's get into that one. All right, so in the beginning of PID, an adorable tyke named Kirk gets on a bus and finds himself on a strange planet. Time seems to have slowed to a crawl, and the robotic inhabitants have lost their royal family. Our reluctant hero is determined to get home, navigating the planet's um, myriad traps and discovering the source of an evil robotic scourge along the way. The premise is interesting, featuring imaginative characters in a beautiful world. Unfortunately, Ped's retro styling includes plenty of old school gameplay elements that have long since been abandoned with good reason. Kirk gets a gravity beam item early in his adventure, and it's an indispensable part of his repertoire. The item allows him to toss up to two glowing balls into 2D world. Kurt can float and drift in their altered gravity fields, reaching high places and avoiding deadly obstacles. Some enemies and surfaces are unaffected by the gravity beam, so you will have to discover alternate paths. Zero gravity is fun for getting around, and the tool is used effectively in the opening puzzles. Ultimately, the beam doesn't have much staying power. I grew tired of repeatedly solving what are essentially the same puzzles. Repeatedly using beams to slowly hover across spike pits isn't fun in the game's first hour, let alone the eighth. Adding a co-op buddy does add a spark of complexity. Each player can only toss one of the beams at a time, but it doesn't add enough to make much of an overall difference. PID picks up a bit of momentum at the halfway point when Kurt gains access to a variety of different items. One of PID's strengths is how puzzles can be solved legitimately or by using items and brute forcing your way through. The puzzles typically weren't difficult. Move aren't difficult. Move a crate onto a pressure pad. Carry a key to a nearby door, etc. But I appreciated how much time I could save by using a smoke bomb to zip past a guard's line of sight, for instance. Hmm. There are a handful of fantastic puzzles, including a section where you use your beam to move a light source through a spiky maze. Though those high points are a great buffer between tedious switch puzzles. I only wish there were more of those creative moments. Robots are Kurt's main foes, and they look like a mix of marionettes and machines. They are another one of Pig's high points. Kurt's interactions with them are limited to canned dialogue, but I always look forward to meeting the next one. I felt the same way about the bosses. From a purely aesthetic angle, some of the highlights include a geriatric gunslinging balloon and a robot that needs to be fed via conveyor belt. They all suffer from a broken formula of having too much health, too much, no, excuse me, too many attack cycles, and wearing out their welcome way too early. Like many other aspects of PID, bosses are much more enjoyable when you are just watching the action. Kurt is a husky little dude and he moves around with a noticeable lack of urgency. That's fine when you are navigating through puzzles, but it makes boss battles a chore. Kurt's quality, excuse me, equally lethargic with his slingshot. Great for moments that require precise aiming, but irritating beyond belief when a boss is bearing down on you. In one of the game's most memorable sequences, I found myself repeatedly dying and restarting, hoping each time that the game would randomly dump the item I needed in the boss lair. If you happen to hit a checkpoint when Kurt armor rating is low, you have my deepest condolences. This kind of punitive mechanic wasn't fun back when it was the norm, and it's certainly no better now. If it got a visual downgrade, PID would be right at home during the 8-bit era. Might and Delight have created a fine homage to retro gaming, but it comes with the errors, often redundant gameplay, and maddening boss battles. Game design has moved on, and unless you are ready for a frustrating experience um, with a few key moments of promise, I suggest doing the same. All right, so concept infuse a devilishly tough platformer with a cutie pie presentation. Graphics, striking stylized visuals are a high point. It's too bad Kurt is a hazy little blob in an otherwise impressive world. Sound, Pid has one of the best soundtracks of the year, spanning a variety of genres and instrumentation, including a clever tune centered on sounds from a restaurant kitchen. Playability. The concept has promise, but you see everything Kurt's gravity altering ability has to offer within the first hour. New gadgets and gear do little to keep things interesting for the rest of the game. Entertainment. Pit is a love letter to a former flame who, in retrospect, wasn't actually that great. Replay is moderately low. All right. Let's see. What else is what else? What else? What else? What else? So we have Pokemon Scarlet, Pokemon Violet, um, Resident Evil 3, The Dark Pictures Anthology, The Devil in Me. Okay, so the three Pokemon Scarlet, Violet, and Resident Evil 3 is all for Nintendo Switch. Comes out November the 18th. Um, and also on the 18th, the Dark Pictures Anthology, The Devil in Me, the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC also comes out on the 18th. Um, and of course, Evil West, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC for November 27th. No, excuse me, 22nd. Also on the 22nd is Gungrave Gore, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, November 22nd. Just Dance 2023, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Also comes out on the 22nd. Um, and Ship of Fools, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch, and PC, November 22nd. Also, for the 29th of November, is the last days of Lazarus, PlayStation 5, November 29th. Sable, PlayStation 5, November 29th. I'll review that next time. The Night Witch, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Um, and for November the 30th, Front Mission First Remake for Nintendo Switch. Gundam Evolution, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One for November 30th. Also on the 30th is Warhammer 40,000 Dark Tide for PC. Okay. 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 Now we're gonna go to all this stuff. Talk about this. I will go over Resident Evil 3 in the next episode. So let me see how much time we got here. I think I'm going to actually go to a segment that I never had a chance to do for a while right now. So let's get into a little thing that I like to call podcast free game mechanisms. All right, let's get it, man. Sorry about that. Give me a second. Sorry about that. All right. Sorry about that. I had to pick up something. Give me 1 second. All right. Now, podcast free game mechanisms is the segment. This is the segment about for the people who wants to start a podcast, like I'm doing right now with three podcast shows underneath of my belt. So I'm gonna let you know on some key equipment that you need to start a podcast. So let's get into it right about now. All right, so let's get into it right here. Um, the first thing you need is headphones right here. You also need a microphone. It doesn't have to be anything too expensive. It could be anything. It could be a Yeti microphone. It could be an Voxcon A800. Um, it could be it could be anything in regards to all that stuff right there. Um, and you can and you also going to need you're also going to need you're also going to need a laptop along with a software, and of course you're gonna need like some things for lighting purposes, like a ring light or an LED light, like I'm using right now, or a light box, like I'm doing right now, for lighting purposes for your live streams. And of course, you're gonna need, of course, for um, you're gonna need a name of your podcast that nobody has ever heard before. It doesn't have to be anything that somebody else got. So you can actually you know get get your story out there on your what, when, why, how, and all the other stuff, and your story behind it and all the other stuff. So for the software like I'm using right now, which is StreamYard, which is one of the things that I use for my live streaming podcast shows, which is the supporting software that I use for my YouTube channels, which is Meticulous Podcast, Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks podcast, and of course my other channel, which is G Money Stacks 555, where all the episodes of Off the Meat Rat Chains New York podcast episodes is on there as well. And for the most part, you also need a hosting site. You need a hosting site that's gonna help you distribute your podcast. Like I have Anchor. Anchor is the hosting site that I use that distributes the podcast, the streaming platforms and stuff. And for the most part, the most important thing about that, when it comes to being a host of your own podcast, is to be yourself. Is to be yourself. That's the most important thing. You can't be nobody else though. Um, as I tried to explain to my mother earlier, you can't expect me to be someone or something that I'm not. I can't be. You can't go by the past version of yourself. Don't worry about being a people pleaser in society. You don't need to do that. The only person that you need to please is yourself. That's all you need to do. And of course, finding your voice is also important. Being confident in what you do, and don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do, based on ridiculous accusations or whatever case scenario may be. And another thing, if you encounter a cyberbully like I did, who says some hateful stuff to me, don't go don't go around taking a lame advice by somebody like a parent who told you to congratulate them. That is the worst advice that is being said to me. That was the worst advice being said to me. And I and I'm like in my head, this woman is nuts. This woman is nuts. I am not gonna congratulate a hater, man. I'm not doing that. That is not gonna work for me, man. And I'm pretty sure everybody handles situations differently, especially if you're trying to put a message out there during your podcast recording episodes and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So don't let anybody try to ridicule you based on how you're supposed to behave or anything like that whatsoever. We're human beings and we're also mammals too. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to hold your emotions for far too long. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna mess you up mentally. So you don't want to do that. And of course, the most important thing about being a podcast host is to, not worry too much about the analytics as far as like the algorithm and shit. You don't really necessarily have to worry too much about that shit though, man. I didn't do all this to be popular, you know what I'm saying? That's not the reason why I started this in the first place. So I'm not gonna really go into deep with that. But let's just say I started this to actually not only let people get to know me and myself as a human being, and of course you know be able to give each of my podcast shows a chance to listen. You know what I'm saying? I already have a lot of people from all over the world that's actually listening to my number one show already, and along with this podcast, and along with the other one, my sports podcast as well. As I'm trying to grow, of course, growth is important, but um, if you see anybody who DMs you to promote your stuff onto their platform and there's no email address or phone numbers or anything like that whatsoever, don't do it. Do not fall for those scams. I've seen it so many times on my Instagram messages in the notification section. It is not worth getting ripped off out of your money. It is not worth it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I just wanted to actually and you're only a human being though, man. You know what I'm saying? You're only human. You can't not be human because of what your parents think of your behavior or anything like that. No, 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 no. You are a human being. You're not going to be the old version of yourself. Just be the best version as you can in this current present. Don't even think about trying to make predictions for your future. Don't even think about it. Just worry about what's going on in the present. That's all I gotta say right here. And the most important thing about being a podcaster is to be on your P's and Q's and to have consistency. I'm only saying all of this because I'm trying to actually show inspiration and motivation to you folks out there. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, man, don't give up on your goals and dreams and stuff. You know what I mean? And for the most part, most people like me, most people like me, I do this on a weekly basis. I don't do these podcast shows on a seasonal basis. I do it on a weekly basis because that's what gets me into my zone. I look for topics to review as far as like, music artists, TV shows, cartoons, movies, games, sometimes a little bit of podcasts and all that great stuff right there. So there it is right here though, man. That was your podcast free game mechanisms segment. So we're gonna get into another here called Stream Choices on the Go. This is where I inform you on where you can actually um, find out where you can listen to these episodes. So here it is. Okay, you love what you hear and the various particular topics that we just reviewed in each episode whatsoever on this platform right here, the review show right here. Um, why don't you just show your love by following Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast on Instagram, alongside with my other show, which is also on the gram as well, which is Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast. And my number one show with 205 episodes already in the books, which is Off the Meat Rack Chains New York podcast. If you miss any episodes of that show whatsoever, 200 episode and all that other stuff, you can go check that out. And make sure you check out the other episodes on my sports podcast right there. And this review show right here. If you missed any episodes whatsoever, everything's going to be uploaded on the YouTube channel page, and it's going to be uploaded. The audio is going to be uploaded for this episode right here tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to upload anything today. The only thing I'm uploading today is my 205th episode of my New York podcast, which I'm going to do after I get off the air, and after that, I'll figure out the rest. Also, you can follow me on the gram, which is G Money Stacks 555 in Queens, New York. Make sure you turn on your notifications so you can know when each episode is going to be dropping. Like the schedule goes for each episode is going to be dropping for Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast review show is going to be Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. All right. So there you have it right there. Um, Now we are going to actually we're going to get to the stream platforms in a second. Um, let's get to let's get to let's get to where you can listen to the episodes. So if you go to the link in bio where it says Linktree/Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast, you're going to see a whole list of audio streaming platforms. As you can see, you can see a whole list of audio streaming platforms on the go, which is going to be uh, Anchor. You can leave a voice message on anchor.fm/meticulous vibe juice podcast. No, meticulous vibe juice pod/message. Yes, that's anchor.fm/meticulous anchor.fm/meticulous vibe juice pod/message. You can leave a voice message on there on your thoughts on these topics. What what are you, what are your questions for me or whatever you have that's on your mind? Express yourself through that. And speaking of Anchor, that's where we're going to start with. So Anchor, Audible, Audacity, Amazon Music, Breaker, Castbox FM, Deezer, Listen Notes, Moon FM Podcast Player FM, Pocket Cast, Podfriend, Podo Polo, Podorama, Podcast Index, Podcast Addict, Podchaser. Leave a 5-star rating on Podchaser, Podfriend, and alongside with Apple Podcasts and along with Spotify as well. So 5-star rating for these platforms will be appreciated. And of course, you can listen on Podverse, Reason FM, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Google Podcasts, and you can listen to Meticulous Vibe Juice podcast review show episodes on Radio Public alongside with iHeartRadio, the number one app for music, radio, and podcasts. You don't need a credit card or debit card to download these apps. They're all free. You can go to your app store on iPhones, your iPhones, your Android phones, iPads, and Android tablets. So you can download these apps. You can download these apps, all right? Now, if you don't have these apps, don't worry. All the links to every streaming platform is all there on the link that says Linktree/Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast. All right. Make sure you follow my other two shows. It's also on there, which is Excellent Fun Vibrant Talks Podcast, the Sports Edition show, and of course, be sure to follow my number one show. By the way, I did drop episode 38 yesterday, so you can check that episode out along with 37, 36, 35, 34, and 33. Um, and if you want to hear why I added the word talks to the title of the sports podcast name, you can check out episode 34 on that, 33 or 34 on that one. All right, so and don't forget to check out the latest episodes of my New York podcast episodes on also on iHeartRadio as well. So make sure you follow Off the Meat Rat Chains New York podcast on iHeartRadio as well. And finally, make sure you grab that subscribe button on the YouTube channel page, Meticulous Vibe Juice Podcast. Click on that noni bell so you can be reminded when the show goes in the air via live stream. And of course, be sure to leave a like and a comment along with the episodes. Be sure to share the episodes, share the videos. Also, be sure to tell a friend to another friend. Be sure to listen, stream, and watch these episodes as you catch up on these episodes. And of course, be sure to stay tuned for more video content, upcoming episodes, and previous episodes in case you missed any episodes whatsoever. Everything's all uploaded to the YouTube channel page. So there you have it right there, folks. Now, because like I said, not only today's Veterans Day, but it's also a day that Nas released King's Disease 3. Now, when I saw this, I was like, this album right there, King's Disease 3, I bet you it's going to be so ill to listen to, man. So let's make some noise for Nas, man, the legendary hip hop artist from Queensbridge, New York. And also today, the movie Black Panther: Wakanda Forever comes out today, and from what I'm hearing, that movie is going to is going to be making billions of dollars in the box office. So I am going to cover that next week on my New York podcast platform. I'm going to cover what the numbers in the box office. I'm going to cover that. And of course, obviously, Rihanna has two songs on the Black Panther Wakanda Forever soundtrack. Um, the first song I heard on the radio is "Lift Me Up," and the other one I have not heard that one actually. Um, and I'm actually gonna touch on that on I might actually touch on that in tomorrow's episode of my New York podcast episode 206. I'm gonna cover that and for the most part, for the most part, for the most important part right here, I want to say because today's Friday and and this has been a heck of a journey for me actually as a podcast host. And I say this because today is the anniversary of my today's the 2 year anniversary of my first podcast show that I came out with, which is off the Meat Rat Chains New York podcast. It has been 2 years in the making, man. 2 years. I'm out to make some noise right here, man. 2 whole years, man. 2 years. Also on this day, which is today. Today's Friday, TGIF Friday whatsoever though. Not only today's the day Nas released King's Disease 3, Wakanda Forever, Black Panther Wakanda Forever comes out today. But it's also, I want to give a birthday shout out to the actress from All American Homecoming, Camille Hyde. Happy birthday, Camille Hyde. And I hope you continue success with the TV show. So that's pretty much what I wanted to actually get that out the way. So happy birthday, Camille Hyde. Yeah, let me make some noise for that right here, man. For the 2 year anniversary of my New York podcast right here, off the Meat Rat Chains New York podcast, King's Disease 3, that came out today by Nas, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, comes out today along with the soundtrack. And of course, a birthday shout out to Camille Hyde, as I said. So happy birthday. Let me just make some noise right here. All right. That's gonna do it for me, man. I'm G Money Stacks, aka the Gregonator, and aka Greg, of course. And I will be back in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode right here, including the celebration of my 2 year anniversary of my show off the Meat Rat Chains New York podcast. And of course, all that great stuff that's happening today, man. Nas's King's Disease 3, Camille Hyde's birthday today on the angel numbers, which is 1111. And happy Veterans Day to everybody out there that served in the military. I hope you enjoy the parade and everything else. Um, I'm off. I'm off this. I'm off this shit. Thank you very much for listening and tuning in and rocking with me and hanging out with me. I'm out of here. Peace and one love. And have yourselves a great weekend and a good night, folks. Be careful out there. Take care of one another. And of course, good night.